Yeah. All right, so we're recording the meeting. I'm going to do an introduction here. My name is Steve with MIC Systems. The software we're looking at today is called Commander, developed by MIC. Of course, we're based here in Southern California. I've been in business for the last 32 years. The software we're looking at today, though, is fairly unique. We've come up with some really cool features for Harley aftermarket dealers, independent shops that we're going to be looking at today with Big Mike and Tom and Dave from AMP. So we're going to get the demo rolling here. This is the Commander website that we're looking at here, guys. I want you guys to feel free to ask questions, too, just as needed as we go. But we're going to take a look at Harley microfiche. We're going to take a look at how to build a work order using the parts catalogs integrated, and then some flat rate labor guide data that is also integrated with Commander. So
Steve, this will be basically our browsing page for when the system. This is what it will look like, or will it look like something different?
Well, it looks like this on the left in the top left-hand corner, and then it launches a browser. So the browser can be,
in the middle, so
I have my browser start page set to the Commander homepage. You could set yours to the Harley to drag Fatbook, or you could set it to Dragnet Web, or you could set it to whatever you want. So when it launches Commander, or even to your own website if you want.
Gotcha. Okay.
And maybe we'll change that just for kicks in a second. But usually I start the demo here because on our website, the Commander NE, like new edition, CommanderNE.com, there's a parts department page that takes you to a list of what we call the price files. And these little parts price updates are critical to running the system because, of course, parts prices are always changing every month, typically, if not more frequently. So you can go in here and print the list out, and you'll see an alphabetical listing here, also listed by industry. We've got everybody's catalogs now, all the way from Harley on down to, Parts Unlimited includes Drag, Tucker includes Biker's Choice. We've got Vtwin, Carryock, Midwest, CCI, whatever. And so all these different catalogs are here. And anybody that you guys do business with, or any bikes that you fix, or anybody you've got an account with, or a catalog you want to have loaded in there, just print this list, let me know which ones you need, and we'll make sure that those are loaded into the system for you so that you guys have those catalogs in the system there.
Okay, so on this is the list of ones that we can actually have you load for us.
Sure.
And we pick and choose which ones you actually put in there for us.
That's correct. You can pick from that list. If there's some vendors that you need that you don't see listed there, you can ask. Those will be already in the system when you start.
Okay. And how long does it take for us, like, say, for example, we have somebody come in and they want something out of another price catalog. How long does it take for you to re-access and reload our webpage so that we can add another catalog in there?
Well, if you get a CSV or an Excel file from a company, I'll send you guys a record layout of what it needs to be laid out as and show you how to load it, and you'll be able to load it yourself. It loads in, just depending on the speed of your computer, but usually within 10 minutes or less, you'll be able to load the entire catalog for any vendor.
Okay, and then one of the ones that are on that list, just say, for example, say I didn't load S&S, in my initial stock, and somebody comes in and says, hey, I need it, and I go, oh, shit, I didn't load S&S. I just get with you guys, and you guys will automatically put that in there for me?
Yeah, we can send you, look, all these catalogs are going to be updated electronically, so if you forget to ask for a particular catalog, like you forgot to ask me for the S&S catalog, and then, you're a week or 2 weeks or a month in, and you go, oh, geez, we should have got that S&S catalog, you can just call me up or email us and say, hey, send us over that S&S catalog. We send you a link for that. All these price books, when you click in here on the left-hand side, here's a nut and bolt that says items. When I click in there, what happens is I'll get a yellow folder listing like this on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And your listing of price books that you've picked will each one have a unique individual folder here. So when I click on Harley like this, that's the Harley price book. If I click on Parts Unlimited Drag down here at the bottom, that's what I'm looking at. I can open up the catalog and I can scroll down through it like this in sort of an Excel-style format, or I can open it up in a split-screen view so that if I look up a part number, whatever this item might be, let's just take this helmet as an example. This is where you type a number in to search it. So if I had typed that number in and then I search for it, it takes you right to that individual item. And then the stuff that displays down here at the bottom, your part number, your description, your cost and retail price, and then any special pricing that you've set up for that item. So you could either sell at the retail price, or you could calculate your selling price to be slightly less, or you could add percentages. You can also create up to 9 other pricing levels for combinations of special customers that buy from you, maybe at cost plus a percentage or retail less a percentage. So you can have up to 13 different pricing levels in the system, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Okay, on that, let's take that example of that helmet. Does it actually give me the page on the Fatbook where that helmet's at?
No, it's not. It's not showing you the Fatbook page. Although, you know what? We could look at the raw data and see if there's a spot someplace on the Fatbook page. It's not a bad idea. I think I need to look at the raw data and see if there's something. What it is showing you, however, is there's a warehouse button down here. And if I tap that, it's going to show me the Parts Unlimited or drag warehouses and where their stock is.
Right. My question is, I found this particular part for a customer, and he wants to see a physical picture of it.
Usually it goes the other way around, right? So what we usually do is we run the Fatbook as the start page because there's an interactive flip catalog that they have. Do you guys use that online, or do you just use the printed one?
Just the printed one mainly.
Yeah.
I kind of like the flip catalog, and I can show it to you guys if you want to see it. But basically, you can go online, and I'll search it up real quickly just to get the actual website for it.
Right, but then the customer has to be looking at my computer screen.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying in terms of getting to the part number. If you want to show them an image, the image data is in the actual flip catalogs. It's not in Commander.
Correct. Yeah,
so,
I get that.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, we do it old school, and we got the book here and flip it. Now, on that, if you go back to that interactive page that you just had, it says show picture. If I click on that, will that actually show me a picture?
There's no image data there. That's for guys to load their own custom. If they want to load image data for stuff that they manufacture or any other kind of stuff that they build. I'll give you an example, right? I can take this Fatbook interactive URL, and I can load that into Commander as my start page. So I'll modify my preferences here for the system since we're done with the Commander pages here. And we'll go in and we'll say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make my start page for the system. I'm going to make it my Fatbook. And then the next time I launch Commander, I can close this out, close this out. The next time I launch the system, which when we install it, it'll load an icon like this on your desktop. You can click into it. And that becomes your home page if that's what you want. You're looking to go, looking up, I don't know, helmets or handlebars or windshields or whatever. The image data would be here in the interactive catalog, and then the part number itself would be in Commander with pricing. Right. But let me demonstrate something else for you guys because I know the reasons we're getting into this are a little different. When we start getting into image data for Parts Unlimited, it's different, but the OE data that we're going to look at is there, and there's images for all the Harley-Davidson stuff as we get into that, so I'll show you that as we go, guys. Okay. I'm going to start up in the items section again, and what I'm going to do in Harley-Davidson here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in a roller bearing, which is a pretty common number. So here's a 9052 roller bearing, and I'll search that item up. So I get that item coming up here, as you can see. As an OEM item, it's a roller bearing, and actually have some in stock. But let's just say in most cases I'm not going to stock that item and there was no bin location, so I'm just going to put it back to as if it was a price book item here. So we search it up. It comes up in the system like this. We don't have it in stock, but we can hit the item reference tab down here at the bottom. And by doing that, it's going to show me all my crossover items for it. So I can see I can get it from Drag, or I can get it from Tucker, or I can get it from Vtwin, I can get it from CCI, and I can do cost comparisons here and figure out who I might want to buy that from.
Okay, and now on the Look For tab up there, you can actually change that to item number, to product description, to, okay.
Yeah, we can search by either the item or the description of the item. And the description would be, any combination. It doesn't have to be left to right exact match. It could be, if you just typed in the word bearing and it appeared somewhere in the description, it would actually find it.
Okay.
What about related parts?
Well, that's what we're looking at right here. We looked up the OEM part, and that was a Harley-Davidson 9052 roller bearing. And in this particular case, we sold the aftermarket parts for it.
Okay.
And the different vendors, who we could get them from, and at what price they would. And so the entire this is our cross-reference. This is the entire cross-reference basically for Harley and all the aftermarket companies. It gets loaded the same way as we load the price books, which is kind of a batch load. Where we basically, when these parts catalogs update, or monthly when Drag has a new catalog, or whatever the case might be, we send you a file. You click on Maintain Price Books, and then you browse for the file, and that'll load the new catalog right into the system for you. We do the same thing with the cross-references, and we update those every year. You can go Maintain Cross-References, and then you can load these cross-reference files, and we'll push them into the system. And some of the other cross-reference stuff that we built, for example, if I type in a KN111, which is a common filter, and I do a search here, I get 3 hits. I can see Parts Unlimited has it as a KN111, Tucker has it as a 401450, and WPS has it as a 560111. In each case, I can look at the cost and see who has it at the best price. And I can also click on the warehouse button down here at the bottom to see, okay, this is Parts Unlimited or Drag's warehouses. This is Tucker Rocky and their warehouses. And if I had an account with WPS, this would be their warehouses. And we're just in the process of getting the spec from Vtwin, so we'll have the same thing for Ted's Vtwin.
Okay, now those prices are updated daily?
No, the prices from these vendors are updated monthly, once a month.
Once a month.
And
so
Drag is...
I don't have to do anything to upload those.
No, you don't. No. We send you a file. We send you a file, and you click on the link, and it uploads into the system. But there's no manual. You don't go into Parts and Prices and start updating anything.
Yeah.
It's
all
all
you have
done
to do is basically pull a window file in.
Correct.
And drop it in, right?
Correct.
Okay. It's the
Yeah.
same with when I was asking about the SNS. If you send us the SNS, I just drop that SNS into my all categories file.
There you go. There you go. And you would have a folder somewhere down here under the S's that would say SNS, and then all their parts would be in there.
Gotcha.
There's Vtwin. Same kind of deal. So all your vendor catalogs are in there, and that's a huge advantage, because obviously if you guys are talking about using a program like QuickBooks or using some other program, then you've got an items list. You have to manually type everything in. The price is always changing, and you don't have the whole price book in there. You've only got the stuff you stock.
Right.
And that's a major problem,
Major problem. That's why we're on the phone.
Yeah, I know.
Now,
right,
now
so,
you said that, just a quick question on the show picture. Now, say I can actually add a picture to that, or is that done?
Yeah, let me show you. Like if I looked up that filter that I had here, I've got an image behind that. And that's an image that I loaded. So you guys can put images of stuff that you manufacture or whatever. That was generally the design. We originally thought that we might get image data from parts and put it here. But when they came out with the FAT book, it kind of became a redundant, it's kind of redundant when you can actually look it up in an interactive catalog and you can see the image here. If somebody really wants to see it, you've got the book to look at it, and then once you get to the part number, we take it over from there.
Okay.
All right, let's get into some of the fun stuff, okay? Obviously, putting stock in here is real easy because you've got a part number, description's already in there, the pricing's already in there. All you have to do is tell the system how many you have. So you put your stock in there, you put your bin location in there, you hit the save button, and that's a wrap. It basically puts it into stock for you. So I'm not typing in the descriptions and all the other stuff like you would in QuickBooks or whatever. In addition, you guys can set these parts for reorder. So if this was an oil filter, for example, and I always wanted to make sure that I have this item in stock, I've got a detail tab down here at the bottom, and I can say, okay, set a min-max for that item of 4 and 10, just as an example. If that part gets below 4, I want to buy back to 10.
Correct.
And so that's a way of setting, triggers on parts so that when I get low, I don't want to run out of the item and then suddenly discover, shoot, I don't have oil filters on the shelf. I want to order them when I get low. And so that's a way that you set min-maxes, and Commander will actually push those items that you're low on to an ordering pad. The ordering pad is called the PO pad over here on the side. It's kind of like a digital notepad, and the items that you need to order will show up here. There's a little routine that you run, a little stock order routine, and then it pushes them onto the pad.
Now, do I have to, I can scan that UPC?
For anybody that provides UPC codes, Drag has been a little spotty. You know, they have UPC codes on some stuff, and they're starting to get better. You know, we'll provide the UPC code data for as much stuff as they actually have. And then if you're putting stuff into inventory, yeah, the general idea is we want to give you the ability to pick up a scanner and just scan the items both when you're putting them into inventory, taking inventory, or more importantly, when you're selling them, right? Because we can do a counter ticket or a parts invoice at the parts department over here. This is the little sales invoicing routine. If we go in there and we go in there to sell something, I've got a Yamaha part here, so forgive me for using a Yamaha part, but I'm going to go ahead and just scan it. And then it just scans right onto the ticket. It prices and extends. I can go to the checkout window here. The guy owes me $6. I can put $10 in there just as a payment, for example. It'll make change for you, and then you can print the invoice. And you can actually do an invoice from start to finish in 7 seconds when you're using a barcoder.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool functionality. I'm going to show you some other features as we go, but that's just a simple invoice, scanning an item and selling it.
Okay.
We're fully integrated with barcoding in as much as we can also print barcode labels for you. So when this ticket prints, let me just open it up here. This is just one example of one of the templates. We've got a ton of different invoice templates. Most of them let you load a JPEG file onto the header. So you guys can create your own image for big mics or for, you know, AMP or whatever, and you can stick it on the invoices. You've got your barcode tag that it'll create in the top right corner, so you can use the scanner that you use to sell parts. You can also use to recall tickets if a guy was doing a return or whatever. And then sometimes people don't want to waste paper at the parts department, so they go, well, can we just print the little receipt paper? So if you get a star printer or an absent printer or whatever, you can print the little grocery store.
Yeah, we have
Yeah, you can print the grocery store style receipt, the little 3-inch ones.
Correct.
So that'd be like.
I can select which printer method I want.
Well, yeah, it'll default. You can set it up so that your parts invoices print on this type of printer,
okay,
and your repair orders will print to a laser printer somewhere else. You know, because we're not going to do service tickets on a thermal receipt.
No. That's what I was saying. Do I have to choose, or is it a default?
No, you can choose, but there's a default.
Okay.
So right now I said, okay, I want to print on receipt paper, and that template, and send it to this printer. I would have the printer set up. In my case, I'm printing to OneNote, which means it'll print to the screen, and that gives you guys the ability to see it. Otherwise, if it printed on a printer here, that'd be kind of worthless, right? It ordinarily doesn't print to the screen like it. It just goes straight to the printer. Okay, so there's our sale sitting there, for the stuff we sold. I want to go through a service ticket with you guys. I kind of want to show you how work order works, because this is where all the fun stuff kicks in that you guys probably initially contacted us about, the Harley microfiche and the cross-reference with the working in the. And so this is going to be where it really warms up for you guys a little bit. So let's go into that and kind of get into a work order and take a look at how that works. You'll see down here at the bottom left there's a repair order icon, and this is for the service department. So when I click in there, this is to start a new service ticket, and I'll go in there, and of course I can see any bike that I've worked on previously, and I can go back as far as I've owned the system, and I can go look up old work orders from way back when, depending on if they had anything on them. I picked one that of course didn't have anything on it, but as far back as you want to go, you can look it up either by the customer name or the VIN number of the bike or the year, make, model, or whatever. There's different ways of searching for that information.
Okay.
Okay, so that service history is all stored on the bikes, going back as far as what you want to go back. So those are closed out work orders. Now we want to start a new one, so what we're going to do is there's a new button in the top left-hand corner, or you can right mouse click and just go new. And that puts us in the screen where we're going to create our new work order. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get the customer information. So we can either add the guy to our system by hitting the new button here. I'm not going to do that because it takes time. Or we can search for an existing customer that we might already have in here. We can search by first name, last name, or whatever. So We go ahead and select our customer. Across here on the right where it says customer's unit or customer's bikes, this will show us one or multiple bikes owned by this customer. In this case, the guy's got a 2010 Tri-Glide, so it's in here. Or I could add another bike here for this customer. Click on a button, it'll open up a panel where you can put in the VIN number, year, make, model, and get the bike information in there. When you save it, it then adds it to this list, so it's associated with the customer for the next time he comes in. I'm just going to pick the one I've already got here. You can also view the bike information if you want to here on the side. So all that information that I'd entered about that bike, and I can even load photographs if I want to, which is kind of cool. Sometimes when you're doing a custom build, or you have a bike that comes in on a crash estimate or whatever, you might want to take before and after pictures. Or maybe if there's just damage to a bike and you don't want the guy to blame you for, wrecking his bike, you can load image data in here. Not just a single photo, but it's a gallery that you can actually load. So the same way as you load those images for those parts that we did, you can load image data for the bikes, which is kind of cool.
That works great.
All right. Next thing we want to do is find out what the guy wants us to do. The customer complaint, we call that check and advise. So this is the work that he wants us to do on his bike. We're going to R&R whatever. I'll just put bike will not start just to have something on here. Anything that's misspelled, there's a spell checker on the right-hand side. You'll see a red check mark with ABC over there. We click on that, and it'll highlight in red any typos that we've made so we can correct those.
We do that handwritten here. We write everything.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid.
So this is just a way to get the guy out the door, right? So we got $150. Maybe we're going to give him an estimate. Some people ask for an estimate up front. We really don't know what this job's going to cost because we haven't put any parts and labor on here. But maybe he's one of those guys that just says, give me a call. Some states require it by law. You've got to give a guy some sort of estimate before he leaves. But usually what we want to do here is we want to print the work order out. We want to get his signature. We want to get his signature on the emission waiver and disclaimer, which you guys can customize. And I'm assuming both you guys do that in your shops, right?
Correct. Right.
So here we go ahead. There's the stuff I typed in, bike will not start. And so you can put anything and everything you want in there. This text down here, this disclaimer, you guys can customize, and then my customer is going to sign this document, and he's going to leave. Now I've got to find the parts and labor and I've got to get this thing going for this job. I've got a shop ticket that you can print if you want to hand it to a tech, and he can start writing parts and the stuff that he thinks he might need. I'm going to skip over that part and just go to the actual microfiche and take a look at these. This product that I'm going to show you now is called HLSM. And HLSM is Electronic Online Microfiche Program, and it's a 30-day free trial, $50 a month. So write that down. There's your first pricing. If you look in the left-hand column here, you're going to notice it's not only Harley-Davidson. Unfortunately, they don't just strip out the Harley stuff. That $50 a month gets you everything from Arctic to Yamaha. Harley-Davidson is in the middle there. And so you can actually look up the year, make, model on any bike you want. I'm going to go Harley-Davidson since that's what we're working on, a street bike here. And we're going to go down to our 2010, which is basically what we're working on here. And with a little bit of luck, we'll get a model listing loaded here, and then we'll go looking for the Tri-Glide that we were working on. So it doesn't really matter. I'll just pick a bike down here and see if I can see it. I'll just choose this electric glide. That's fine.
And what's the earliest microfiche they have for Harley?
79.
Okay.
79 to present?
Yeah. Okay, so everything's broken down by engine and frame. So all your engine parts are up here at the top. As you move down onto the frame, you'll get all the electrical stuff, and then you'll get your fenders, windshields, and wheels down here at the bottom. And you can click in, of course, on any section here that you want to work on. I'm going to go with some engine parts maybe and just do a clutch assembly. You can expand the images like this. Anything we're looking at, of course, is indexed with a number, as you can see here. And then down here at the bottom, that number is actually crossovered to an OE part. So you can see the reference down here at the bottom.
So those are all Harley-Davidson parts, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I went to my Harley-Davidson dealer and I wanted to get that that part number, that would be the actual part number that I would give him.
That's the actual part number. Now it gets better than that, though. Let me kind of work you through the way this is going to work. We're gonna make a little shopping cart, or what we call a pick list, of stuff that we want for a particular job. Right now, we don't know if there's any drag parts or aftermarket parts for this. We're not going to worry about that just yet. We're just going to pick the OE parts first. So we're going to go with the rod assembly. When we click on that item, it looks in our system to see if we stock it. And guess what? We actually have one in stock. Look, it's showing us we stock one. And we're not using bin locations. And it's got some pricing information in there for me. This button right here, you guys see this one where it says where used in all of Harley-Davidson Street Bike? Can you guys see that?
Yep,
Right.
got it.
That's a fitment button.
A
So
what?
this rod assembly is also used on 641 other units.
That's cool.
But of course you already knew that, right, Big Mike?
Yeah. Not on that many units, but yeah, I knew there were a bunch of, they're using a bunch of different ones.
Yeah, so it gives you the whole fitment list. Kind of a cool feature, if you've got parts laying around in the shop and you know that they fit a particular unit, or maybe you bring in a bike that's wrecked and you want to part it out and put some stuff on eBay, you can get the fitment list and then you can list that stuff. And, you know, obviously you get more hits if you list it under 641 units versus just a 2010 electric line. So kind of a cool feature just for fitment. Now we're going to pick the parts that we need. So I'm going to say, okay, I need this item and I need the push rod, and I'm just going to randomly, I don't pretend to be a tech, so I'm just going to randomly pick some stuff here. And I'm going through a list here as if I was picking parts that I need for a particular job. I'll pick the hub assembly and then just kind of work my way on down. You can jump to other portions of the system if you want and keep building the pick list. So if I'm done with the clutch assembly and I want to go to the chain case housing, I can go here. You know, now I've got some more stuff. Maybe I want the bushing from here. You know, it'll keep adding to that list. So right now I've got 7 items. If you look at my little pick list that I have, I've got 7 parts that I've said, okay, I need these items for, you know, the job that I'm doing. And then you've got a post button here. And that post button sends them to my work order. So when I open up my Commander work order, you'll see at the top here, I don't know if you guys can see this orange arrow at the top that says import. I'm going to click on that, and that drops them right in.
Oh, that's cool.
Will it
So
also automatically check your inventory to see if it's something you stock, and if not, put it on a purchase order?
Fantastic question, yes. Do you notice line 2? It said 1 and 1. It filled it because I have it in stock.
Okay.
But everything else, it couldn't fill because I don't have it in stock. So yes, it checks to see if I have them in stock. In fact, it does one more thing. It's also showing me that that line has been superseded because I see a number next to a number. Anytime I see a number next to a number, that means I've got an issue here. This item's been superseded. I need to put the A in front of that item. And then it subs it out, and you can see you get a description. And line 5, I can also see this has been superseded, and it looks like I have, well, I'm just going to copy and paste this one because I don't want to type it. I'll just copy it, paste it down here at the bottom, let it look up the correct item. I'm just going to go with Harley for now, and I'll show you the cross-reference stuff in a minute, and I'm going to remove that item. So I kind of cleaned it up a little bit, right? I got the correct numbers and the supersessions taken care of. I didn't need to wait for the dealer to tell me that I got the wrong number, which you guys don't have. After he called me back 2 hours later or whatever. Okay, so here's my part numbers. Now at this point, I kind of want everybody's attention. So if you guys are doing something else, I need you guys to watch this because this is one of the coolest things ever. I can click on these lines, and I want you to watch a similar related button down here at the bottom where it's just sort of like dull gray like this. And so I clicked on that first one, I got nothing. I click on the next one, it kind of went a hot blue. So that means I've got to look for that thrust bearing. I can click there, and I can get it from Vtwin, CCI, Tucker, or Drag, your pick. So let's say I'm going to get it from Drag in this particular case. I don't know. There's some kind of, you know, sometimes there's assemblies, sometimes there's packages, and so you guys have to still make sense of the data. But whoever the vendor is that you pick that you're going to get it from, you can select here. And of course, you can get that item onto the system. The moment I pick a drag item or Parts Unlimited item, there's a box that opened up down here at the bottom to show me availability on that item to see if they have stock in their warehouses. 8 in California, that works for me. I'll keep going.
All right.
Not so good for you in Texas there, Big Mike. I don't know. Let's see what they got in Texas.
We'll get it out of our Texas warehouse.
I'm going to go down to line 3, and I've got a similar item there, and I've got a Vtwin thrust washer, a replica I can grab here. So you can kind of see how it's designed. You know, if this stuff makes sense, as you click on these lines, any aftermarket items that you want to switch out or sub for, I can either stay with the Harley item, the original factory part, or I can sub it out for an aftermarket part.
Okay, now if you do not have those vendors that are in that related item list,
then you just stick with, well, then you would stick with the OE part, right?
Yeah, stick with the OE part or go to a different.
Or go to a different vendor. Now, I have cross-references, though, for Drag Tucker, Vtwin, CCI, Karyakin, I don't know. I don't know how many more. Are there some more you're saying I should have?
so the more catalogs that you add from the beginning, the better it would be.
Yeah.
And is there a price increase with additional vendors that you have listed?
No.
Or additional catalogs that you have listed?
No.
Or is it okay?
Now,
No, it's not an upsell.
if you put one of those drag specialties in and you have it in stock, it'll automatically change that to a fill if you have it in stock.
Yeah, it'll fill it. If I had this item in stock, it would have, like line 1, it would have looked like that. It would have just had a 1 and 1 next to it right there because I have it.
Okay.
All this other stuff that I don't have in stock, though, I've got to get this ordered. All the stuff where the fill is 0, this is already letting me know I've got to order this. Now, at this point, I might just be building a quote. So I'm not saying necessarily that I'm, you know, maybe the customer wants a phone call first. I've got his approval. I've got to get his approval. Maybe it's a warranty job. I don't know. So at this point, it's still in what we call quote mode. It's building an estimate. A good example, a guy I showed the software to yesterday, he goes, Steve, I'm working on 2 complicated estimates for an insurance company right now. He goes, I'm buying the software right now. I want it installed today just so that I can finish up these estimates. They're driving me nuts. You know, I had another guy the day before that an insurance adjuster walked in, and he'd had a hard time getting paid on a job, and they were haggling over R&R, some handlebars, and how much labor should have been charged on this particular job. And I said, we're going here in a minute. I said, well, let's open up the flat rate guides and take a look at it. And he had charged an hour where he was supposed to charge only 30 minutes. And so the adjuster was actually right. But he said to me, he goes, man, if I'd had that information, he goes, I would have billed it correctly and I would have been paid a week ago, you know.
I've been there.
Yes, sir. Okay, so here we are. Let's just throw some labor on here just to kind of show you some functionality. Obviously, we put parts on a work order. We also put labor on there. So we can either bring the parts in from the microfiche the way we did, or we can open up our price books. They're all here, too. So if we know part numbers, we can just type them in, and it'll bring us right to them. And then we've got a labor screen, too, that you can click on. And there's 2 ways of putting labor on a Commander work order. One of them is to use your own internal labor menu that you guys set up. So you'd go in and put in labor and set up your shop rate. I've got mine set at $75 an hour, 1 hour default. You could set up tire changes and oil changes and all the stuff that you kind of know what you charge. And you could stick those things in here and just kind of use them from a little internal menu where you grab them. And that's the first way of getting labor on here. The second way of doing it is we've integrated flat rate labor guide data from Harley-Davidson and a bunch of other companies into the system so that you can access the actual flat rate times and use those as a reference. And I'm assuming you guys want to see that. That's a company called Service Manager Pro. So this was the microfiche, remember? I go to my toolbar on Commander and I hit my SMP icon here, and that'll launch it into my browser. I've got an account with them, so I can click on my account login here, and I can go right into it.
Now, this is part of the program, or this is an additional?
Well, no. This is they don't get a whole lot of money for this product. They get $199 for a whole year.
Okay.
Like $16 a month it averages out to. But yeah, it is an additional. It's an a la carte kind of thing. If you guys want this, you'd have to sign up with them. I don't make any money on these products. I just show them because we built them into our product to enhance it. Because we now have a way to build this work order. We can click on Harley-Davidson. We can click on 2010. And in the setup of the system itself, I might have picked the wrong bike. Doesn't really matter. But once you get into the bikes, you've got a spot here where you can click on labor times. And then you'll get the sections of the bike kind of load like this, and I'll go with the drive and the clutch here. And I think I turned off the labor rates the other day. I kind of turned on just one labor rate. So let's go back. Let's talk about what's happening over here on the right. I've got a $60 labor rate. That's all I'm displaying. Let's go to labor rates first, and just for kicks, you guys at AMP, what's your labor rate there?
75.
How much?
75.
Okay, the same as the one I had. Big Mike?
We're at 70.
Okay, let's do it the other way around. Let's do Big Mike's first.
Costs more to live in California.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter because you can't get there for $5 an hour, right?
You got a job opening for $5 an hour? I'll be
Hell
down
no.
next week.
Yeah, come pay double in rent, right? The other thing is that, what's that?
That's for reals.
I know. The other thing that's here is you can take the flat rate time and you can bump it by a percentage if you want to. So the original flat rate time that comes from Honda, Yamaha, Kawi, Suzuki, whatever, Harley-Davidson, we may not want to do work at flat rate time, although, you know, insurance companies apparently, or at least the one that the guy was dealing with day before yesterday, he's only getting paid flat rate. So I don't really know how that works because nobody really does work at flat rate. But the dealers tend to bump the flat rate time by 50%. So I'm gonna leave that multiplier in there just for kicks, and then show you guys how this thing's going to work. So now we go back to the home page. We put 2 different labor rates in there, and actually allows you to set up to 3 labor rates. But I'm only going to work with 2 labor rates. I'm going to go into Harley-Davidson, and then we'll do our year, make, model lookup again. This is the same concept as looking up parts, except it's looking up labor, which you guys, you know, familiar with when you're looking up the parts on the microfiche. But obviously, you know, you haven't seen it before, I'm sure, in looking up labor like this. So when you get to the labor times, we go back to that drive clutch. Now we've got the 2 labor rates set up, one for AMP and one for Big Mike's. As you can see here, 70 and $75 side by side. You could also have a 3rd labor rate. Sometimes you do when you have ATVs and street bikes and different things. You have warranty rates and whatever. The labor time that's displaying has already been bumped by 50%. So when I look at that 1.4, most likely the flat rate time was closer to like an hour, and it's adding the bump. If we're charging Big Mike's rate, I guess it's $98, and I guess AMP would be $105, right?
Uh-huh.
So there they are side by side. So let's just use the first column here, and we click on the jobs of whatever it is we're doing. So we can click on the $14, we can click on the 147, and you know, whatever jobs you pick here. And I probably need to reboot my machine at some point, but it's not a big deal. It builds a little pick list over here on the right, on the left-hand side, that I can export the same way as we did the parts. So none of this requires, you know, a great deal of typing. It just pushes the labor into a file, and then you can go back, open up your work order, and tap that import button again up at the top there. And that puts the labor right onto the work order. As you can see, there's the 3, line 10, 11, and 12, and I'll remove line 9 here. And I guess I'll remove that manual labor line that I put on there, which was line 8, just to kind of show you how you can clean it up. But there's the $70 rate. And then if you look at the times that we have listed here, you'll see 2 different times. The 0.13 was the flat rate time. The 0.2 is the bumped time. You know, 1.4 was flat rate. 2.1 is what we're billing. So everything in the fill column is what we bill. Fill is bill. That's what I tell people in training. Now, if you just wanted to bill this guy, instead of 0.2, we do 30-minute increments. You could make that a half hour, maybe make this 2.5. you know, and make this 0.5, whatever. So you can still manipulate the data once it gets in here. You're not stuck with what the system's saying, and it's really just to use it as an index or recommendation.
Now, when you print that or you're giving that out to someone, is that required, the flat rate going to be on that, or can you take that off?
It depends on the template, and you can also, if you don't care to see it, you guys are asking some really good questions, actually. If you don't care to see it, there's a feature in the program where you can make it so that the moment it brings it in, it doesn't show the, it won't show it. So basically, I can go repair order, and here it is here. I can set the labor, REQ, and fill equal to each other by default, so that it doesn't show the flat rate time.
Can you also set it to where it will show you on your screen but not print it out?
It shows you on your report. It can show you. Yeah, it'll do that differently. It'll do that through selecting a different type of repair order template. There are different templates that show different data. Okay. We do like the idea, and this is fairly unique, and kind of unique to Commander only. We like the idea of keeping the flat rate time, keeping the billable hours, and then we introduce another time, which is actual. So if I assign a technician to line 8, which I can do down here, any labor line, of course, I can assign to my technician because I want him to get credit for that 30 minutes. But then maybe he took an hour to do the job, and I'm only billing out, you know, so I can put a one hour in there. You know, different.
Supposed to go the other way.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, what planet are you living on? Okay, let's go the other way. 2.5 hours, and he only took 1.5 hours to do it. He's awesome. And, you know, whatever it is, whatever this relationship is, you kind of have a 3-time comparison kind of compiling here. Flat rate time compared to the billable hours compared to the actual time. So maybe I'll put in 1.5 here. The other thing that we can do, and this is something that happened when we signed up Kawasaki Motor Corporation about a year and a half ago. They went on Commander. They needed a scheduler. So if we have this text schedule set here, we can hit the schedule button down here at the bottom, and it goes looking for the next 30 minutes, and we can click OK and post it. Posting the ticket, you know, and I'm kind of doing things a little bit out of order. Ordinarily, we wouldn't be putting labor and scheduling technicians and all that stuff before we ordered the parts. So usually what you do is you post the work order. You'll see it shades the parts gray, and over on the right-hand side it says SO, SO. That means we got to special order these parts for this job.
Now, we're still working on a quote, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been, if I'd elected it, if I'd wanted to save it just as a quote, I could have just hit the save button, and then I could have actually printed it as an estimate or emailed it to a customer as an estimate.
Okay.
In this particular case, I'm just kind of jumping forward and saying, okay, the guy gave me the go-ahead, so we pull up the quote, we post it, it pushes the parts to the order pad. If you remember in the beginning, we were looking at this order pad, and this order pad now has a whole bunch of stuff on it for that work order. So it's showing us the customer's name, it's showing us the part that we need to order and the repair order number that it came from. So I don't have to write stuff down on notepads or clipboards or whatever. None of that anymore. It's all going to happen automatically for me.
Okay.
And are the POs consecutively numbered on that one?
They're going to be, the POs will be consecutively numbered once we create. This is just a notepad. Once we go to create the physical purchase order, then it will take on a physical purchase order number, as you can see, and they're sequentially numbered.
Gotcha.
So we'll start a new purchase order. You know, we'll choose the vendor that we're going to order from, and you guys will have to add your vendor names and addresses and whatever for everybody that you buy stuff from. I'll use Parts Unlimited or Drag Specialties, I guess it should say. I'm a platinum dealer with them, so I'm getting free shipping at $50. And of course, those parts that go onto the purchase order would just be the Parts Unlimited or Drag items. And so you can actually just highlight them on the ordering pad and throw them right onto the purchase order like that. You can see I'm a little shy of the $50. It's counted down to $29.70. When I get to $50, it's going to say turn green and tell me I've got free shipping. I'm not going to create separate purchase orders for all this stuff, you guys. I'm just going to throw them all on one order, just so that we can get through this. And then that way. What's that?
Can you manually put things in?
Yeah, you can. Right, you can add additional items by hitting the Add Item button here, and just instead of using your ordering pad, you could go into a price book and just say, well, you know what, we also want to add some additional stuff, maybe for whatever catalog. In this case, it would be Parts Unlimited. Open their catalog and let me throw, a couple other items on here, a couple helmets.
No.
There you go.
Accumulate those orders off of different work orders?
Yeah, that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, see the work order numbers on the actual purchase order. It shows me the customer's name and the work order number here.
Extras that he just added item.
Okay.
And these items, actually, if you look if you guys can see the very left-hand column, there's a type code, and that tells me why they're on the purchase order. So the first item is a repair order, repair order, repair order. These ROs all mean repair order. This one that says MM is min-max. This is one that I'm ordering to increase my stock on the item, and that came from my little order trigger thing that I was showing you.
Okay.
That was for a repair order. These final ones that say MO or MO, that's manual order. That means I added them myself.
Good.
So it's kind of a way, the question, I guess, was can we manually also add stuff to this? And of course we can. So we can increase for our stock or something we just need to throw on there for our shelves. We can throw those right on there.
Or so I can make that $29 minimum.
Yeah, exactly, right? No, for sure. I mean, you wouldn't want to, if you just had to add a helmet or something else just to get it over so you get free shipping, you definitely want to do that.
Exactly.
Okay, so here we are at the top. Once this order is ready to submit, let's say we were sending an order to drag. Different vendors have different functionality. In this particular case, there's an export button, there's an email button, and there's a print button. So you can either print and fax, you can email in the order. It'll actually turn it into a PDF and send it right in just by tapping that button. But if you want to do an export, you click on the export button, you choose the vendor that you're ordering from, in this case Parts or Drag. It uses the same format. And then when we hit the export button, it actually pushes a file onto our hard drive, into our C drive that's in the exact format that will upload into Dragnet Web.
Okay.
So we can upload purchase orders for you that way. You log into Dragnet Web with your dealer number and password, and then it uploads our purchase order. Commander right now has an outstanding order that we're waiting to receive. We can click into that order, of course, and we can go to receive it. Now, I need to find out the lady's name that was asking all the good questions. What's your name, ma'am?
Kayla?
Kayla?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good thing for control here, there's two different features. You can either have your purchase order quantities set to 0, which means that forces the guys to go through and actually enter a quantity in as they receive the items. And if your shop is a little more loose than that and it doesn't matter, you can have the receive column already default to the same quantity as you ordered. In which case you would just tap the receive button and the entire purchase order goes in without you really having to do anything. So either way, there's an option there or a preference to run it either way. So right now I'm going to go through and act like I'm just receiving the stuff in, and that takes care of putting the items, of course, on the purchase order that I'm receiving. If I get in something at a different price, $155, well, shoot, I didn't pay $155, I paid $145. I can adjust the cost of the item right there on the purchase order. And that's going to make an adjustment in the inventory system for me. And it's also going to adjust it on the work order or the invoice that it came from, because obviously we need to correctly report our costs in terms of what we paid for an item. And, so it'll cycle all the way back around. And if I happen to have one in stock at a different price, it'll average cost it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and receive. Oh, before I do that, one more thing. You guys can print barcode labels from here, too. Now, people say, why do I want to print barcode labels? Well, if a bunch of the parts that were on this order didn't come from the service department, maybe they came from the parts department from actual parts invoices, and I had to put them in my special order bins, I may choose to label those. And the barcode label that we print from the purchase order has the customer's name on it. It has the document number on it. So when you put those items into the special order bins, you can have those nicely labeled. Alternatively, you may want to print some labels for stuff that you're putting out on the showroom floor. These items, these helmets that I ordered and received here. And the label that we print, of course, has the store name on it, your store name, and the price, whereas a lot of the stuff that comes in from Parts or Drag or wherever doesn't have a price on it, And you can also control the number of labels. You'll see a label column here. So if I say, well, I don't want to print any of the stuff for the work orders, I can actually zero out the quantity on all the stuff that's for a work order and maybe just print labels for my 3 remaining down here at the bottom that are going into, that are going to be my showroom items. So all kinds of cool controls in here. So we received the purchase order in, and the stuff goes into stock. Had there been some cross-shipped items, you'd see a status called partially received. But because we received the whole order, it says all received and initially said outstanding order. So there's different order statuses just for kind of designating where it's at in the ordering process. There's a special order call list here for you guys so you can check and see whose parts have come in. So if we look at the 10th and we view it, it'll break it down by customer, and I've used the same customer evidently on a bunch of stuff, but it'll break it down by customer name. Let me go back a little bit with a different time period here.
Will it alert you if all the parts come in?
What's that?
Will it alert you if that customer's parts have all come in from different suppliers?
Yeah, well, what's happening here is that the items that have been received, you can see what was ordered and what was received here.
Okay. There's not a pop special alert that will tell you, hey, everything's here?
No. What we're going to do, that's actually what we're doing. I'll show you on the main invoicing panel. You can go back to the initial invoicing screen, and we have a status called back order or on order. These would be all the customers on which I had orders outstanding. And one of the next releases that we have coming out here real soon, they're going to flag not only with a status showing that these are special order tickets, but they're going to have a flag that they put next to that somehow, either color code the line or do something with it that, excuse me, when I look at all these, I can tell which ones have all the parts received. Right now, if you open the document and you look into it, you can see that the parts are here because the special order section's down here at the bottom. They move to the top. And then you actually have an email button here. You can send a notification to the customer from here.
Okay.
You can actually tap the email button. It sends them a message and says, hey, your parts are here. Come get them. On our work order that we're closing out here, we'll just go back into that. All the parts go onto that ticket. This one didn't come in for some reason, or maybe it was one that I have a negative quantity. But let's just say all the parts are in for the job, and we want to close it out. Obviously, at that point, we would typically assign our technicians, and we would do all that stuff that we were talking about, setting the default number of hours and doing the scheduling. When we scheduled that job, if you do choose to use that, it'll push the job onto a calendar scheduler for you. So there's a couple of different views. There's a day, week, and month view here, but the scheduler has actually been, it's been written to, or the calendar gets written to by the work order program. So as you schedule your jobs for your technicians, the jobs will appear on the calendar.
Hey, Steve, this is all a Citrix-based environment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So
we're a .NET framework and a SQL database.
But you have the ability to drop into all the Outlook maps, into the Excel programs, all that stuff.
You mean drop in what? You mean you mean as far as exporting customers and so forth?
Yeah, I mean as far as what you're doing here, you're just exporting your data into into calendar forms or.
I know this looks a little bit like an Outlook calendar, but it's actually not getting it from that. The reason being is we need to be able to order. We need to have simultaneous technicians side by side. Like here's a Friday, even though it's past due.
Yeah.
And I can have 4 or 5 different technicians scheduled side by side. It doesn't have the drag and drop capability where you just kind of click on it in Outlook and move it. You actually have to click on it to reschedule it, and it'll give you a calendar where you can move it to a different date and time.
Yeah.
Each technician gets a different color, and then we work in 2 different views. We have a list view at the top and a calendar view at the bottom. So actually, if a tech comes in and he says, what am I scheduled to work on, he can look up his own name, and then up here at the top, he can click right into the work orders, and he can go in and out of the actual work orders that are open, and he can get into these jobs just by going in and out. So he's got a multiple view look. It doesn't, just from our standpoint, If somebody wants to use Outlook to schedule appointments, then not have it interactive with the work order, then you can just use Outlook or use a Google Calendar or whatever. But if you want to use something that's a little bit more interactive, we threw this in there.
Yeah, it's not really that. I was actually talking about in the Army. We went to a Citrix-based system that was almost identical to this for doing maintenance. And
oh, really?
You could drop into Excel documents to see like what you're ordering most of, your parts, and it's all. I mean, it looks identical to the system we moved to into the Army.
Yeah, we're using Crystal Reports for our reporting on the back end. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yep.
When the work order. Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
What if that tech is sitting at home the night before, and he wants to know, okay, what do I have going on tomorrow? Can he, with his cell phone, is there a mobile application for this also that it will sync with?
No, not yet. You know what? Windows 8 just came out, of course, and we're a Microsoft partner, so we're looking at some tablet interfaces. I don't think necessarily that it would be an app. I think more so what the guy would want to do is he might want to just dial in or log into the system and check his schedule or whatever. There's obviously a lot of ways to connect remotely to any kind of Windows computer. There's a whole myriad of different products available for him to do that, whether you use the one that Microsoft has embedded in Windows, which is Remote Desktop, or whether you use one of the log me in or go to my PC, go to Assist, whatever. There's a whole bunch of them that he can log in with, To do it from a phone, I guess, would require some type of application. We haven't gone to an app format for anything like that, although there's some tablets floating around here. I noticed that the programmers are starting to look at tablet interfaces for the work orders where maybe, service tech or a service writer could have a tablet hanging on his hip and walk out on the service drive and start the work order and do it wirelessly through Wi-Fi and kind of, just touch screen it and get it started and get the guy out of there. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that we plan on developing, and that's, it's definitely on the, wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities to do an app, but not currently, no.
So now each individual, let's say each individual tech or service writer would have their own, can they create their own login? I mean, have their own login that way that person can log in and exactly who's logging in and who's not?
Yeah, there's two ways of doing it. One of them is to assign a username and password to each employee. And, of course, when they log in and use their workstation, that's what they would log in. That's how they would log in. Some people just do it more like they create department logins, because sometimes security is assigned to different levels of personnel. So you might have parts department help that have, certain security or service department guys that need to do something else. When you're sharing a computer, and you have 3 different guys jumping on and off doing different things, it becomes a little bit cumbersome to log in and log out, although the system is set up with extensive security where you can basically go in, you can create users. The users can all have their own permission sets assigned to their names, or they could be department settings like parts or service or whatever. But there's a username, there's a password, and then there's also a user ID, which is kind of a security code for each employee. If you were going to be a higher level, maybe administrator, and a lower level guy that may not be authorized maybe to change prices or give discounts maybe on an invoice. Let's say my administrators here on my sales invoice, they can do everything. But my users, people that log in with user permissions, may not be able to change prices or give discounts unless somebody that was an administrator came up and punched in their authorization code.
Ah.
Kind of like Kmart, for the guys like, manager required on aisle 7, clean up on aisle 9,
Mm-hmm.
But I can lock my text out of the price guides and all that, right?
You can lock people out of all kinds of places, yeah. Mostly you want to lock them out of your reporting. You don't want people to go into the reporting functionality to look at profitability and how your shop's doing and so forth. But
correct.
On a day-to-day setting, you want them to be able to get in and create work orders and do what they got to do. Now, here's a little bit of a kicker for you guys. When the work order is finished and the customer comes in to pick up their bike, here's the checkout window up here in the top right. Ignore this $51,000 here. This is an outstanding balance that they owe me from QuickBooks apparently, which is from another transaction that I had. This is the money that is due down here at the bottom, this $562. I can take a credit card payment. I can go pay in full, and I can hit the invoice button. And we have an integrated merchant services connection that'll actually pre-key the amount like this, and all I have to do is swipe the card. If I had the customer's credit card on the file, I wouldn't even have to swipe it. I can just go ahead and process it if the guy ever paid me with a credit card before. But I'm going to go ahead and swipe the card here. And it processes straight through. It'll go ahead and it'll print the ticket, the credit card receipt. It kicks back the approval code. It encrypts the credit card and stores it on file for you. It's all PCI compliant, so there are no issues with security. And then it prints the final work order. And of course, again, there's a whole bunch of different formats for you guys to use as far as what the repair orders are going to look like. Besides the, the JPEG file and the barcode tagging at the top, all the parts and labor, of course, print on there. And there's a whole bunch of different formats, of course. So I'll print maybe one more. You can choose from, I think there's 15 different repair order templates for you guys to choose from here, and they're all preset and ready to go.
The repair order really didn't have the one I was just looking at didn't actually have what we did.
Oh, no, remember the labor we put on there was from the labor guides, this stuff.
Yes.
Oh, you mean the stuff at the bottom, bike will not start, this stuff?
Yep. How we diagnosed it, what we did, how we did it.
Well, it prints all these boxes, whatever you type in. So in this case, we had a little box, we typed bike will not start, and I didn't put in any recommendations.
And that box will continue to grow if I...
Oh, yeah. They just keep getting, yeah. It'll spill over onto a second page if you type a bunch of stuff in there.
Okay.
I'll go back and look at the other one. I don't remember. I might have just flashed it on the screen a little too fast. Let me see what that one does. They all have different combinations of information on them. Yeah, it is on here. It's just in a different format. See, there it is there.
Oh, yeah. It shows what the
request is.
And the labor, this was the labor right here.
Yeah.
And this happens to be one of the templates that shows both the flat rate and the billable. Most of the time, the customers have no idea what this is, so some people don't mind it being there. At the end of the day, of course, we're going to go ahead and print a cash receipts. Balance your cash drawer and reconcile your cash count for you. There's a cash or payment reconciliation page for you here to see how much cash, check, and credit card was taken in.
Definitely.
Now, a number of the reports for you guys are, of course, in Commander, and then some of the reports are in QuickBooks. Are any of you guys using QuickBooks?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, Big Mike, you guys are using QuickBooks, right?
Right.
Tom, are you guys using QuickBooks?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is going to be something I need to show you guys just to kind of close out the demo. What we do in Commander is we do all of the point-of-sale stuff. We take the items list. Of course, we've got all the pricing, the parts pricing, the catalogs, all the microfiche integration, the labor guide integration. All that cool stuff is happening over in Commander, which you would never get from QuickBooks. Automated price updates and cross-references and all that stuff. And then we give you all the reporting capabilities that are generated around that, meaning your day-end cash out, your sales tax report can be generated in Commander. There's a sales activity report just for profitability. If you run that, you can kind of get a snapshot of what it's doing in terms of parts you've sold, the cost and the sale amount, sales tax and profit. So these are reports that are actually in Commander, not in QuickBooks. So we're actually looking, even though they really look similar to the QuickBooks reports, they're not. These are actually Commander reports.
So I have to drop those into QuickBooks?
You're not going to drop it. What we're going to use QuickBooks for is banking. So we're going to do our check registers and everything else. And the stuff that QuickBooks is actually good at, check registers, payroll. We're going to let QuickBooks do some bill pay for us. We're going to pay our bills, and we're going to do a P&L and balance sheet in QuickBooks. And so that's about it. Everything else will actually be done in Commander. So I'll show you how the two tie together, because we don't want you guys to have to do a lot of manual posting and entry But just to wrap up a couple of the reports that are sort of featured reports in Commander, obviously the inventory that you put in here, once you put your inventory in here, we're going to be able to run an inventory cost report and get an idea of what the value of your inventory is. Again, the stuff will display right to the screen. It'll break it down into different categories depending on how your inventory is categorized. Maybe I've got $75,000 worth of inventory and I know what it is based on what I've put in on the Commander side. So these are some of the things you'll see from Commander. But when the time comes and it comes time to push the data into QuickBooks, if you guys will keep using QuickBooks, but you're no longer going to have your items list in QuickBooks. We're going to export that and import that over into Commander. My items list in QuickBooks is only 16 items, and that's all I need for my mapping. So I'm going to go to the home page of QuickBooks. You guys will be familiar with this. And I'm going to open up my interface here. And this is part of what you'll be getting from me. This little window that opened up here, this is the Commander QuickBooks interface that pushes the data from Commander into QuickBooks. So let's think about what we did a minute ago. We did a work order together. We created a work order, and I guess the work order number was 465, right? This is this work order that we just created a minute ago here in Commander. So we'll leave it open just so we have it open on the Commander side, and then we'll open our transfer, and we'll hit the transfer button. And any customers that you've added in Commander get added to QuickBooks. You don't have to re-enter the customer names and addresses. That all takes place automatically. And this work order and the payment we collected and everything else that happened over on the Commander side is going to push out of Commander over into QuickBooks so that we can do our P&Ls and balance sheets and all that kind of good stuff, our banking and whatever over in the...
It doesn't automatically do that. I have to drop it over there.
Well, you drop it to the degree that you tap a button and take a sip of coffee and watch it. I mean, it's not, there's no exporting and importing or any of that weird stuff. It's a mapped utility that pushes it over. So if I go into QuickBooks now, it doesn't have to be done every day either. I mean, you guys could do it, as often, or some people do it once a day, twice a day. There's people that like to do it, as they're sitting there working. It doesn't really matter. Some people have an accountant come in once a week and do it. It doesn't. However you do your books, it doesn't. It's on you. But that particular transaction for Southern Illinois Chopper, I think, was the name of the company. Notice here we have a repair order. Notice the document number in QuickBooks says 465. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a RO, repair order, 465, and there's the payment that I took with it. So I'm going to click on the work order. And there it is. So this is what it looks like on the QuickBooks side. And this is the exact same work order. Remember, it was repair order 465. So it actually recreates the document over on the QuickBooks side. But obviously, if you had to try and create a work order like this in QuickBooks with looking up all the parts and getting the cross-references going and getting the labor in there and whatever, God knows, it would have taken hours,
And get in the format.
And labor rate and all the rest of that crap.
Yeah, one by one by one.
Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome.
That's pretty kick-ass.
So, that's the way we've done it. It was pretty clever, too. When I first heard this, I was kind of, you'll like this. You'll notice the description of the item. The description, Dave, can you see that?
Yeah.
The description of the item has the part number and the description in it. And the reason we did that is QuickBooks Pro only allows 14,500 items in their items list. So if we try to create the individual item in QuickBooks every time we do this, we're going to max out QuickBooks Pro in no time at all, and then QuickBooks is just going to go to its knees and it's going to stop running. So when we developed this, we worked with an Intuit programmer, a guy that had programmed for QuickBooks, and he said, look, the way that you beat our system, since you guys aren't going to keep an itemized inventory list anyway in QuickBooks, you're only going to have an inventory asset account, which is what we'll do. We'll have the value of the inventory in a journal in QuickBooks. Basically, we can combine the part number and the description together in the description field so you still get the detail and you can see what it was. And there's no limit to the number of descriptions in QuickBooks Pro. This little cheap-ass $150 accounting program will allow you millions and millions of different descriptions, so it never maxes out.
That makes sense.
Isn't that funny?
That is good. Yeah. And that's what it is an accounting program.
And then you'll see the mapping utility. You know, you have an inventory asset account. So when you put your items into Commander, you run a report, you get the cost of your inventory, and then you make that entry into QuickBooks as your inventory asset account for your journal. And then every time you sell something in Commander, it'll automatically decrease the value of your inventory in QuickBooks. And every time you pay a bill in QuickBooks, which you're going to do, all your bill pay is actually going to be done on the QuickBooks side. You'll pay that bill, and then the inventory asset account, you know, will increase because obviously you're buying something. Now, there's one other cool little feature, you know, that I'll mention here since we're looking at this, and I don't know how you guys do your bills. Do you have open accounts with anybody? I mean, in terms of, do they give you credit when you buy stuff and then you pay the bill at the end of the month, the end of the week, or whatever? Anybody giving you terms, or do you pay as you go?
No, I'm open with all my vendors.
Well, with,
You've got accounts with your vendors?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
oh, yeah, like we have an account, the gas.
Big Mike, you guys have accounts too, or?
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay. I'll just show you this feature real quickly because it's kind of a neat feature that we added fairly recently to the interface. And this is why I talk about software upgrades in Commander. We're always adding new stuff and making it better. But the purchase order that we created here, let's say for Parts Unlimited, just as an example, well, it doesn't matter which one we use. I can right-click on that and enter a bill.
Bless you.
So when we go in here, you can put in the vendor invoice number, vendor invoice date. And the reason we added it on the Commander side is we want to give you the ability to audit the bill against the purchase order, because, you know, getting a bill from somebody, well, that's great. Somebody's got to really take the purchase order in their left hand, their bill on the right-hand side, and in their right hand, and kind of compare it to make sure that you got billed for the right stuff, that you didn't get overbilled or underbilled or whatever, right? So what we're going to do here on the Commander side is let you start putting the bill in, and you say, what's the bill amount that you received? Well, according to what we ordered, this is all the stuff we received. And what did they bill you for? There's a bill quantity column. So as you're looking at the invoice, you're actually comparing it to what you received on the purchase order. And you can go, well, they billed me for 1. Okay, the bill looks good. The bill looks good. They billed me for 1. They billed me for 8. You know, and you can go through and you can catch. This is a great way to catch any mistakes if you're over or under billed. Also, if something had come from a different warehouse and there was more than one bill, you could actually come back and do this twice and enter multiple bills. But I'm going to go ahead and just grab that one. If there was additional shipping that had to be paid for some reason, $45, I'll just enter that there. Now the bill amount that I want to pay is $15.57. So I'll put that in there. And, you know, we'll add that bill. So at this point, I've put a bill in, and the bill now resides against my purchase order. So anytime I want to check how many bills I received, where the bills are, I can go against my purchase order, and I can actually look at it. And there the bill is. There's the header, which is sort of the summary of the bill at the top, and the detail down here at the bottom. So I've kind of captured a snapshot, and I could have 1, 2, 3 bills. It doesn't matter. I could click down a list here if there was 2 or 3 invoices sent to me for the same purchase order because product was cross-shipped, maybe came from a different warehouse or whatever. But part of what we did when we wrote this interface and we hit the transfer button here, had we done that before we transferred it the last time, we could have gone to QuickBooks, and we could have gone to the bill pay section here to pay our bills. And what you're going to see here when I scroll down is you're going to see there's a bill here, Parts Unlimited. And I can go right to that bill, and I can pay it. It's already over in the QuickBooks side. So it pushes it over into the bill pay section for you. So, I mean, I look at it this way. You know, we sell to guys that are on Lightspeed and, you know, different people that are on other systems and have been burned by different companies and whatever. One of the funniest things I always hear is guys that spent $60,000 for a Lightspeed system paid $9,000 for their accounting module, and they're using QuickBooks. But using QuickBooks this way versus how you guys are doing it, it's a game changer. It's not the same QuickBooks anymore because now it's an integrated accounting system tied in with a DMS system that has all that other functionality that you've been pulling your hair out over that QuickBooks doesn't offer. So you can see how seaming the two programs together becomes kind of fun.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of that I have with that, because I do run point of sale, which is an intuitive program that's actually designed. So what you're telling me, my system already does, but as long as yours continues to do the same thing is what I care.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to do the same thing pushing into QuickBooks, but the difference is we're going to give you a whole bunch of stuff that QuickBooks Point of Sale does.
On top of that,
right?
Yeah.
So that's, you know.
Yeah, I do. You know, I don't want to trade off one thing for another. But.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Listen, the majority of our business that we write comes from people that are on QuickBooks Point of Sale or started on QuickBooks. The lucky ones call when they still have time to return it. No, I'm not kidding. I can give you names. I got a list of people that'll say, Steve, I've got, 30-day trial with this thing, and I'm 2 weeks in, and I already know this is not what I want, And I say, well, express mail, send it back, because I already know that I know what this is. And when we started the demo with you guys, I knew where we would end up, because this is a good fit. One of my guys, Gary Benson in the Midwest, his wife's an X-ray technician. And she goes in and helps him in his shop on weekends. I saw her last year at the Vtwin show after they'd been on our system for a year. And she said, Steve, best thing we ever did was put this in because I can go in and help Gary on weekends. I can help him build estimates for customers. I can look up the parts. I can look up the labor. I can see the cross-references. He, of course, has to come and check it because I'm not going to be 100%. But she goes, you don't have to be, in this industry, the industry that you guys are in, there's an extensive amount of product knowledge required. For somebody coming in as a greenhorn or somebody that doesn't know a lot about, what to charge, the learning curve isn't short like it is in some other industries. And so these kind of tools let somebody that's somewhat of a novice, accomplish some fairly complicated tasks with reasonable accuracy.
As long as they know how to use the system.
Well, and that, yeah. I mean, training is obviously something that, obviously we have to address after we get you guys installed. But, I want to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys' time and just kind of get an idea of number of workstations. And I'll let Dave, you go first. How many computers are you guys thinking of, how many workstations are you thinking of running on? Two?
It's 2 and 3, right?
2 to 3?
Yeah, 2 to 3.
Okay. And then was this, I showed you the HLSM thing. Was this appealing to you guys? This is something you guys would want to sign up for also, or?
That's the SMP program?
This is the HLSM one. This is the microfiche guy that does the year, make, model search for all these different
that's
things.
the $50 a month, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind, you can also, some of this stuff's available on dealer websites. It's just a little bit harder to find the Harley-Davidson stuff. When you get into those dealer websites, they might show you the image, but they don't show you the OEM part number for a really long time unless you buy it from them,
Well, we have good old-fashioned parts books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned parts books.
And I mean, and quite honestly, in our business, we're still going to be using those old-fashioned books because, I mean, you only cover 79 and up, and a bulk of our work is pre-79. So.
Okay. Well, you'll have to knock Nick on the head, the guy that has this product. If you have some fish for older years or some books for older years, they'll scan them and they'll put them in here.
Absolutely.
So that's the one thing, and then the other thing, as I said, was that SMP product, the labor guide product. This is pretty much a no-brainer for most people. I mean, $199 for the year. So I'm not going to push too hard on their stuff because I still haven't sold mine. So I just keep in mind those are the a la carte items. Big Mike, your turn, sir. Kayla?
We have 3 computers.
Okay. And then, a yes, no on the microfiche and the labor guides?
Yes.
Okay.
You told me.
Okay, guys, let me put some pricing together for you guys, get you both over a quote. And you're basically both looking at 3 workstations, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll just do it,
Correct.
Put a quote together for you guys, get it over to you in the next half hour or so. Kayla and I are both jonesing for a cigarette right now. I know that.
How did you know that?
I just went and stuck a couple.
No, that's the only reason why Tom had me around, is so he could smoke in between the.
Isn't that funny? So we'll wrap this up, and then I'll get we'll wrap this up, and then I'll get your price quote over to you guys.
What did you call before the SMP program, the one that does the
the microfiche thing?
Yes.
HLSM. SM.
That's the one that's from 79 to present, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it also has, it has this complete data set in it. I know you guys only care about Harley, but it's got everything in it.
Yeah, because we here at our shop, we don't just do just Harleys. We do everything.
Really?
We do Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki.
Oh, then it's a no-brainer.
Right.
Polaris. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got catalogs for all those guys too. Keep in mind, right?
Uh-huh.
Cool.
And you said it's a flat rate for all of those catalogs.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Okay, guys, I appreciate your time.
All righty.
You're going to get back with us in the email quote?
Yeah, I will. I'll get you guys I'll email you guys a quote. Just so you know how we do this, all you got to do is sign the order, send it in. We'll email you some links to download the software. It downloads in about an hour. I can make your data set in about 24 hours. There might be a little data conversion to do if we're going to export stuff from QuickBooks, if we're going to get any sort of, customer list or items list out of QuickBooks and import it into Commander. So any data conversion work can slow it down maybe another day. But other than that, we can have you guys up and running in 24 to 48 hours or so tops from start to finish, loading HLSM, SMP, getting all the interfaces working. There's quite a bit of work that goes into getting it to work the way I'm showing it on the screen here. But the work gets done by our guys. You don't have to hire an IT guy, and you don't have to be an IT guy yourself. We'll connect into your computer system, and we'll get it all set up for you.
And my current cash drawer and thermal printer are all compatible?
I have no idea what you have, so I would say probably not. The cash drawer is what it is. It opens. Does it open off the back of your thermal printer?
No, it opens off of the back of the computer itself.
Does it go straight into a USB port?
Yes.
And that's with the QuickBooks point of sale stuff, right?
Yes.
We'll have to look and see. I'm not, we might be able to make it work. I'm not 100% sure. I've had some luck with some of them, not all of them.
The thermal printer is just.
But I will say this: the printer, if it's a Citizen printer, it's not going to work. If it's a Star or an Epson, it will work. So I'm checking.
It's a Star. It's just a Star.
Then you're good. You're good to go on the printer.
Okay. I believe it. I think all of them.
And then usually when you switch from when you switch from QuickBooks point of sale, you're usually, saying goodbye to the QuickBooks Merchant Services stuff too. So I've got some information on the global payments X-Charge stuff that I can send to you guys too.
Yeah, I don't use that.
And check their rates.
Yeah, I don't use that service because my current rate's so much better.
Yeah, so check the rates with Global. Obviously, the convenience of having that all work the way I showed it to you on checkout, where it just kind of processes and runs right through, is pretty decent. And Global is one of the big 3 portals that you can process through anyway. So their rates are fairly decent. But I would suggest giving them a copy of your statement, and then letting them try and beat it. And if they can, great. If they can't, then you got to do what you got to do. So.
Yeah.
But if we can at least match or beat or somehow get that going for you guys too, most of the Commander dealers that we sign up eventually jump on X-Charge because it's just seamless as far as checkout, and you don't have to go over to a separate device and type the amount in and wait for it to process and come back and all that stuff.
Right.
All right, guys, have a great afternoon.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I do appreciate it.
I have one more. 24-hour
Yes,
tech support. Is that available?
What's that?
24-hour tech support.
Yeah, you want my cell phone number?
Absolutely.
All right, you got it. All right, Kayla, take care.
That'll be in the email, right?
It actually is. If you look at my email, it has my cell phone number on it, believe it or not. Yeah, I'm not afraid of that at all. The program actually works, and I know that you're not going to be working 24 hours a day either, so I'm okay with that.
You mean you're okay because we're on the same time frame?
Yeah, we're okay. You guys in Texas, actually works for you guys because, if we're here till 5 every day, that's 7 your time, so that's decent coverage. Even if you open at, if you open at 9, we're here at 7:30, so.
Wow.
When I say we, I don't mean me.
There's more than one of you.
All right, guys, take care.
Okay,
Thanks
thanks
a lot.
much, Dave.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.